typically when you are 50 or older, you've accumulated some wealth, but you've also accumulated lots of debt. So Randy, based on your experience with hundreds of clients, what works and what does not work when it comes to debt elimination?
So you'll often hear people talk about, the snowball effect when it comes to paying the debt, whether paying the debts that you can pay off the quickest and have some sense of satisfaction that, hey, I'm eliminating my debt, or what debts do I have the highest interest rates and things like that. But here's what people run into the problem of. The one thing that is constant in all of our lives is the unexpected. And so here's what you'll do. You'll have a credit card. Let's say that it has $3,000 as a limit, and you're dumping extra money on it because you say, hey, I hate that extra debt and I want to get rid of it so that I can start using my money and putting it to work different ways. And then something happens, like a family member calls you, just like you said, Vash, or your car breaks down, or unexpectedly we have the pandemic happen. And because you put all of your extra resources, whether it be to your debt or trying to pay down your house extra fast, but you haven't put any money aside, when life happens, what do you have to do? Because you don't have any money aside, you actually have to go back into debt. And so I think that's one of the biggest challenges with that.
Okay. That was actually a question that I wanted to ask you, because I understand there are sort of two schools of thought around credit card debt. And one school of thought is, if you have credit card debt and you have savings, you really don't have any money. And then the other school of thought is, if you have credit card debt, you should, try and pay that off as soon as possible so that you no longer have the debt and you could then save that money. What are your you just spoke to it a little bit, but if you could just elaborate a little bit more as to, should you focus on paying the minimum amount of your credit card debt while building up your savings, or try to get rid of your savings so that those funds could be sort of reallocated or repurposed?
Outstanding. So if you have debt, and I often will tell my clients, I say, look, the difference between wealthy people and everyday people is just the way that they think. Generational wealth is really not about money. It's just about a mindset. So I say, look, here's what we're going to do. And people are so emotionally tied to their debt. They'll say, I'll tell them, we're going to pay the minimum on our debt so that we can build up our reserves, because the only reason that we got into debt is because we didn't have reserves. And then when we get to a certain amount, and people will say, how much? Is it 3 months of my expenses, 3 months of my income? 3 to 6 months. Truly, we want to get to close to about 8 months of our reserves. And you can only do that by having a spending plan. But put all of your extra resources in your savings, and you get to a certain point where you can actually take a lump sum and then snowball the debt. Then what you end up doing is having your cash flow not attack your debt, but your debt attack itself. Because when you take that lump sum and you pay off one, then you can take that payment and apply it. But the whole time that you're doing that, you're still continuing to build your reserve, because when the unexpected happens, you don't go back into debt. So I would say pay the minimum, build your reserves, take a lump sum, and then attack the debt, and then get back to saving and building your reserves. As your debt goes down, you won't need as much in reserves as well.